I always talk about this, and I think, whoever has a hip hop platform and interviews these artists are a part of this world of, I guess sensationalizing certain shit when it comes to the streets and hip hop artists. But I do feel like there is a culture of a consumer that aren't necessarily fans of certain artists' music, right? They're not really engaged with them and their quote unquote talents, but they're more engaged in the storyline of what's happening with them. And I think of like some of these hood vlogs that come out, or these like documentaries that come out, whether it's Trap Lord Ross or it's Swamp Stories, or it's however many 30 generic versions of those channels there are that are out there. And it kind of results in like fans, you'll see somebody dying, and if you see a rapper die who's a part of a beef, if you want to just be like, society ain't shit, just go to the comments of like, an academic's post about it or something. And it's pretty crazy. What are your thoughts just on like the current culture of like consumers kind of just viewing artists as like main characters in a Netflix show, even though this is like some real life shit? Because this is very much a thing.
I think the artists put themselves in those acting roles. Right? Because look at Fulio and Young and Ace. Look at all the songs they've dropped. They probably
the music videos.
Yeah, I mean, they've dropped hundreds of songs, but which are the ones that get 50 million views?
For sure.
Who I Smoke,
right?
Or the Fulio interview where he's at the
gravesite,
at the gravesite
doing the Fantasia remake. Yeah.
When I see you,
when I see
holding up pictures of Young and Ace's like little brother who died, and other people who died as teenagers. Like holding that up the whole time. Like that's the shit that reacts. Look at even Lil Durk. Like Lil Durk, as big as he was still sort of dissing his ops close to the time that he got arrested.
Yeah, you pointed out some shit on Twitter, and you're really good for like a good tweet when some shit like that happens, where you'll be like, duh, like what the fuck did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. When Lil Pab got killed with Quando Rondo, and there was a news clip that came out of like Quando screaming over his dead cousin.
And Durk sampled that.
Now they're trying to say he didn't sample it, but he sampled that. Like, come on, like seriously, like we're not stupid here. And if you listen to the lyrics, it doesn't exactly say that, but it sort of dances around that whole situation, and it's just like. Durk doesn't need to do that, but I almost feel like he felt like he needed to do that in order to keep his status as a top rapper. You see what I'm saying? So, 99% of the time, these guys are playing into that because they feel this is how they're going to get on and stay on.
Yeah, but you see a guy like Durk who's got songs with Morgan Wallen, and you're like, buddy, like you're supposed to be better than this at this point, right?
Right, but does he have someone that he respects that says, yo, cut this shit out?
Right.
Like, seriously, like you're fucking up right now.
Do you, because you'll see Gilly and Wallow, their approach to a lot of these younger artists who have a lot of tension in the streets is to kind of take the approach to be the big homie on camera and off camera, I'm sure as well. Do you ever, because you are strictly like in my opinion, like you're documenting what's out there unapologetically, and I think you do it with taste. I think some people would disagree with me saying that, but do you ever feel like it's your job to pull somebody to the side and be like, hey, what the like?
I do it on camera.
I know you've given advice a lot on camera, but that type of shit.
I try to squash beefs on camera. It'd be like, Mano and Whack 100 are going at him. Like, yo, I'll get y'all on the phone.
Or like, what's the
But
that's
a lot of times they don't want to do it.
Well, also that doesn't go viral, right? Because that doesn't fit into like the DJ Vlad narrative people pay. Like why not make that go viral?
Look at my Fulio Young and Ace interviews. Like literally in the interviews, I'm saying, can y'all work it out?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be the middleman. I'll put myself in the middle.
I did the same thing with both.
I'm not talking about on camera. I'm talking about off camera.
Right.
I'll work it out with you. Like I know both of y'all. Both of y'all fuck with me. Let me get y'all on the phone together. And I'm risking my safety by doing this.
Yep.
But I feel like it's important to do shit like this. Like when I bring up beefs, if you notice, most times it's like, well, how can we fix this?
Yeah, what's the resolution?
What's the resolution to this? Even Fulio was like, yo, yeah, me and Young and Ace will work things out sooner or later.
Yeah.
He
said shit like that during our talks too, where he was like, I actually like the song. He was like,
he was just like, yo, and that's on tape.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk to them off camera that much because we don't really have a relationship like that.
Right.
These are not like my actual friends. Like people like a Michael Jai White, who's actually like me and him, talk a lot off camera. But on camera, I want to document it because I know the other person's going to see it, and maybe that'll trigger of like, okay, like.
Has there been something where maybe one of your interviews has sparked conversation between two people that may have had a problem that you know about?
I mean, I wish I could say yes.
Right.
I really wish that I could say, oh yeah, so and so worked it out after my interview, but most times, man, people just don't want to. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to. I remember me and was a Polo G got all angry at me when I did this. I was interviewed by Academics on his show, and I was like, and I gave Polo one of his first interviews ever, and I was like, yeah, I feel like he's acting like these laws don't apply to him.
Right.
And the people around him, because like his brother's got a murder charge, his mom is shooting at her daughter.
Yeah.
He's getting multiple guns, he's getting caught with guns constantly, and it's just like, yo, like, and it's like you have such an opportunity right now, and all this shit is happening around you. And he called me up, is all angry at me, and he's screaming at me over the phone. I had to hang up on him, and I was like, yo, like, let me give you some OG advice right now. As someone who's a lot older, who's more than twice your age and has seen over 20 people
demise,
just like you, think that they're untouchable and ultimately have the worst possible thing happen. And his response was like, I would never take advice from you. You have no idea where I came from.
All right.
And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. And then he got caught with a gun shortly afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, cool. I did what I could do.
You've had a lot of beefs that you've patched up recently. I'm glad you and Wack did that because you guys have had some great interviews since then.
Yeah.
Also resulted in one of the best game interviews ever that came shortly after that. You've had a lot of public spats with people. Is there anybody who's on your I will never squash this list? Like, I'm good, you're over there, I'm over here, and it's going to be like that forever.
I would never say there's no one like that, because at the end of the day, like, most of the people that I've had any sort of like publicized beef with, not all, but most have done well for themselves.
Right.
Have gone on to make millions of dollars and, have done well in their own field. And I went on to do well for myself.
Right.
So at the end of the day, what are we all mad about right now? Like, why are we holding this grudge right now? Like for example, this is where like me and like a 50 Cent differ. He will hold that. He will hold it forever. Forever and ever and ever. And and he'll stand on that. That's his persona. I honestly feel like I don't really hate anyone like that. Right now, at 51 years old, I've exceeded all my expectations. I could retire today if I want to and maintain my lifestyle for the rest of my life and support my family at the same time.
And you have that, that catalog.
And I got the catalog on top of it. So it's like, and I'm sure this will all be in the comments, oh, what about so-and-so? Like literally everyone you mention, I don't have any sort of real beef. And at the end of the day, if there could really be a serious conversation, like for example, I ran into Joe Budden not too long ago.
I remember.
And me and him had like a 15-year beef.
Yeah.
But we were at Bergdorf Goodman. I saw him, he saw me. We were both, by ourselves. Neither one of us had security or had our guys with us.
Right,
what I'm saying? Like, And I saw him. I looked at him. I didn't feel this sort of aggressive energy. I walked up to him, put out my hand. We shook hands.
Love it.
And I remember I tweeted about it because we didn't take any photos or whatever. And I remember he taught me like, "Oh, let's see what Joe Budden says on his podcast." And the story he told was exactly
what happened.
Exactly the same story I told.
Yeah.
And me and him, and he used to say, "Yo, when I see Vlad, it's on site." To the point where I was preparing myself for violence when he was at, I was working with Complex and he was on Everyday Struggle. I would have to go to Complex for business. I'd
run into him in the lobby.
I might run into him, so I had people with me that was going to handle that. Right? I took it seriously.
For sure.
If he was serious or not, I don't know, but I took it seriously. Mm-hmm. And look, we run into each other, we shake hands, and
bygones have been bygones.
That's it. So there's really, everything can be fixed with a conversation, I feel. But, for certain people, like both of us have to stand up and say, well, we were wrong. I was wrong for this and they were wrong for this. And then, show some maturity, show some growth.